Hello, everyone. I'm David Berkowitz, and welcome to another edition of AI Insiders by AI Marketers Guild by Marketecture Media. And I am here with an old friend, Garett Sloane, Chief Tech Reporter at Ad Age. And Garett has been, I've read a lot of your work recently and not recently, but once I saw all the excitement around how you were describing agency operating systems, I was like, wow, like I want to learn more about that. I know we got a lot of people in the community who want to learn more about that. And also just all these other exciting things you're seeing Super Bowl week and like constantly changing crazy times, Claude bot molt book week. Like it's 1,000 weeks in one. Welcome, Garett. Great to have you here.
Thank you, David. I'm proud to be here for the first time, and I actually have an update. Breaking news: I'm the senior editor of technology and AI at Ad Age. So chief was a good title for a reporter, but now editor is in the title. So I had to swap out that cushy chief looking thing, but taking on even more tech coverage and putting AI in the title. So
well,
on my resume now.
Okay, now it's official. Well, congrats on that. Excited to have you break that news, and it's just look, as long as we get more of your coverage, whatever your title. My grandmother used to always brag because my aunt was a top person at a record label, and my dad was the senior person at his hospital. And my grandmother loved talking about having a daughter who, no, my dad was a chief and my aunt was a president. And so she talked about that to no end. So, but senior editor is pretty damn good too.
I'll take it. And yeah, it's been crazy, like you said, week. And we're here to talk about the OS. And that story, I think, was 2 weeks ago or even 3. And it's still going to be relevant going forward.
Well, and I'm just going to bring this up, and I'll put the link in the chat for those who somehow aren't subscribed to Ad Age. You can even get some of this stuff with the free registration. Just because it was just like this was just one of the best summaries I've seen of what's going on in this space, and I love, yeah. Did you actually come up with the names yourself? Did AI come up with these names? This is amazing.
Oh, I could take you behind the scenes a little bit. As I've been reporting on AI, and I am using AI a lot more in my reporting, not to write these things, but to brainstorm, as people say. Like, let me analyze some of these platforms, do some of the research, deep research on ChatGPT, Gemini, cross-reference them, fact check, do all that. And I was getting sort of a vibe of each one as I was communicating with the LLM. And this, I had to do a lot of tweaking to come up with these names, but these are my names, AI assist.
Well, I love it. So what do you like? What's going on here? I mean, and there's so much more in here from there, but how, are these holding companies and agencies are they successfully differentiating with AI?
And that's why I did this story, because out of CES, I think we saw so many of these announcements. We've seen these platforms that the media holding companies and agencies are launching probably for the last year or two. Publicis with Core AI for years. Omnicom has had Omni AI. I think it just made it Omni. Dentsu's changed from it was Mercury was its key branding, and then I went to Dentsu.Connect last year. So these have been coming up for a little bit, but I think we saw a breakout moment around CES. Stagwell the Machine was really what set it off. When you get an email in your inbox about we're launching the machine, we're like, all right, what is this? What are these platforms? What do we have to say about them? What do they do? And I tried in this chart where you see 7 different categories is to sort of compare them where they do differentiate. And I think they do. I think there's different reasons for each of them, different ways brands will interact with them, different marketing messages, business strategy. So I think there's some difference, but a lot are coming up with the same sort of services and tools too, like what AI audiences say. every agency needs an AI audiences where you're creating personas, right? That's like the hot thing to do in advertising, create target audiences, vibe targeting. That's a term I tried to coin. I tried to help coin last year after Brian O'Kelly, I think, first came up with it. But I was latched onto it. So vibe targeting is a thing. So all these platforms help with these sort of new age advertising formats.
So was there any one of these things where you're wow, like that's a use case I hadn't seen before?
I have to think back because I've done a few. I've looked at Horizon Blue in the past, and done a few stories on where these are coming up with interesting. Just oh wow! When I look at the platform, it's making sense at different platforms. It makes sense of data in ways that you are sort of when you're not in advertising every day. You're looking at the data these platforms are relying on, the sales data of sales data coming from everywhere across the country, products being sold at cash registers across the country. You're like, oh wow, surveillance advertising is real, and it's all coming into these platforms. So some of the details when I get into these systems, they do come up with interesting things, and I would like more of that in my reporting too, because brands are hesitant to discuss this stuff. They don't want to discuss how they're using this data. They don't want to discuss when the LLM comes up with an idea for a marketing campaign. They don't want to credit the idea to the LLM they may have brainstormed with. So it's hard to get, but those are the great stories. If you hear the chocolate maker found the best idea for its ad through talking with LLM or creating audience personas, it found a target demo it never thought of before. Like those details are the things I would like to get more of.
So, and then when you talk to folks on the agency side, and especially at some of the major players like this, like what's just even your sense of where there's like the fear to enthusiasm spectrum for all this?
The fear of AI is definitely real. Another behind the scenes after the story went up got a lot of attention on LinkedIn. I think that's where you saw it, David, and came to me. I also got a DM from someone in the agency world on the creative side who's wanted to downplay how relevant these platforms are. I get anonymously, I know who it is, but anonymously he said, no creative in New York even knows what these platforms are. They're not. No one's using this stuff. It's not even real, which I have some sympathy for that message. But then I talked to, WPP about them developing this platform, Open, and they have Open Pro, which is a self-serve tool, which could bring brands to use the agency on their own. Who do they need if they're using the platform to create their marketing? And so I'm talking to WPP, and they say everyone's using this stuff. Everyone in the agency is using it. No one's not enthusiastic about using it. I would be surprised. No one. There may be some. I would like to dig in a little more about the climate in agency land about this stuff, because there's a message from up top to adopt AI, use it all around, and I think unenthusiastic workers about that might get a stigma.
Yeah. Well, but then, I mean, as far as the messages that they're also trying to send to the marketplace, from these holdcos, like, I mean, how much of it is about innovation versus efficiency? And efficiency, pretty scary when you're working on the agency side. And like, I mean, I was a Publicis for a few years, and I can't tell you the number of reorgs I was part of in just a few years at one holding company.
Always paring down and getting it down. And we see it play out. I don't cover the agency world as much as our agency reporters and what's happening on the Combine IPG, but I read the headlines, and it's, this classic 100-year-old agency is losing its name, and now it's Agency Plus.
Yeah. And so I mean, with this, it's like
RIP JWT came from the chat right now.
Oh man, I mean, it's just like is anyone has anyone in this room who's been on the HC side like not had one of their brands on their resume disappear? It's I can see a few folks here where it's like, yeah, I mean 360i, MRY, all my old brands, all my old t-shirts, they're collector's items now. So yeah, there's I think some legitimate fear that AI isn't going to help that any, but then it's just like, is it just is it just all that like race to commoditization when we all have access to all of this?
Yep. How much does the creative become the same? And you see it happening in some of the commodifying tools that are just sort of like, oh, let me create a banner ad for retail site, or let me create a quick CTV ad with a little animation. And these brands do blend together. You can kind of hard to tell what's luxury, what's common a brand. It's equalizing just the look of some of these brands. So I think brands are gonna have to watch out for that as they adopt these tools.
And I mean, with also with some of the innovation happening now, it's I mean, are you seeing some of this democratization of innovation and access now, thanks to just how easy it is to get like what I consider space age tech that a few years ago was unfathomable?
It was unfathomable. That's just a fact. It's there. No one. It was sort of like something that you knew was being worked on in the basement of Google, but not available. And then it came out and it's publicly available. So it really is a great leap. And it does democratize. I mean, but I think you can see it. Like there's still distinctions between the brand. I don't know this. Pepsi has a Super Bowl commercial, say, and there's a polar bear in that commercial. I don't know if we've all seen. They're taking on Coca-Cola, showing the polar bear moping around because it likes Pepsi more. I don't know if that polar bear is AI. Pepsi's not my brand I cover, but I could see it being AI. If it's not now, at some point AI has a hand somewhere. I'm sure it's just CGI AI. So maybe AI comes there, but then so that ad is a mix maybe, or it's polished, or you see a major brand use AI in a way that's still cinematic and polished, and then you see other brands come out and they'll just quickly create a generative AI commercial. Kalshi came out with one last year.
That was a crazy one, yeah.
Yeah, and that was leaning into the fact that AI is still a little sloppy. Like it's clearly not polished, but that's okay for a brand like Kalshi. So different brands are gonna have to figure it out. But if you're like Prada, you're not gonna mess around with your logos and icons in any way unless you have it perfectly captured.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, it's a good point also. Where I was talking with someone about that movie Polar Express, which really brought the phrase "uncanny valley" into at least some of the public consciousness, and I even had to stop myself from saying it was an AI generated movie. Obviously that was not that technology was not available then, but with what you're saying about the polar bears, like for the viewer's perspective, like viewers, like a few years from now, we're just going to probably call all past CGI AI, right? Like it all just looks like my kid's gonna just call call Jurassic Park AI. For her, if it's something that isn't real, she's not even gonna know the difference between animatronic or CGI or AI. It's gonna be like, oh, someone did something that maybe was cool,
Yeah, it's all AI now, and I think it must be some of the platforms that are coming up that aren't the agencies are giving the. I hear so much about Brand Tech Group and Pencil, Secret Level, a production studio. These are all companies we've covered coming up with the generative AI in production, and they're doing this stuff is getting better. There's a subreddit on Reddit. Is this AI? Nobody can tell on a lot of these.
So now getting into the Super Bowl this year, okay. So is this just the AI Bowl now? What are you seeing?
Okay, I'll coin this with you now. Let's see how this flies. Super Bowl LLM, is that? Can we
Yes.
can we start spreading that? And I want to be the first stamp on that because it is. We Anthropic just said it's in the game today. We had heard rumblings that they could be, and then we got some word that they're an F1 sponsor, so they're clearly ramping up marketing. And Anthropic's an interesting case because they're enterprise business B2B. What are they doing in the Super Bowl? Well, they want to be mass adopted to consumers, obviously, and that's what we've seen of their Super Bowl commercial. It's to appeal to consumers. And ironically, not ironically, but fittingly, they're taking on ChatGPT with that commercial saying, we don't have ads in our platforms. Again, it's all about ads. It's all about AI. I'm in like a really sweet spot here.
But at the same time, now it's also becoming trendy to make fun of AI, either like Dollar Shave Club did.
Wait, we have a Super Bowl Alexa. And that
Nice, Dad.
He is in Alexa Plus. He's in the game too with an AI spot. Amazon's leaning on AI too. Sorry, I interrupted.
No. I mean, I am wondering if anyone here beyond like glancing at it the day the story broke actually used the Alexa website for anything when they're AI powered. Yeah. But and I mean, I think Amazon at least they earn a lot of goodwill from fans by putting Michael B. Jordan in an Alexa ad a while back. So like, yeah, I guess they can stay in the game. They've done some good ones so far. But that backlash to AI, which I'm seeing on two fronts. Right? Like there's the Dollar Shave Club, that came out with their new ad that's just entirely making fun of AI. But then there are all these brands who, and even like Wikipedia and others just trying to come out and say like we're anti-AI, and it's kind of going back to the like we have real models, we have real people, we're real, we don't want to use this stuff. So like how much traction do you think that message even gets, especially once it just like as soon as the message gets out there, then it's like everyone's saying it.
Yeah, that's and then my Super Bowl story coming tomorrow, Super Bowl LLM. Have the look for that. I'm trying to look at what the strategies are, and of course, one of the topics is who are the brands that will lean against AI or criticize AI, and that as AI is becoming mainstream, there's an equal reaction to going another route because that becomes a strategy. Oh, you're going this route, I'm going to go that. Pepsi, Coca-Cola uses AI instead. Pepsi criticizes Coca-Cola for AI, or like you just said with, was it Manscaped or Dollar Shave Club? Are they competitors with Manscaped? They're both shaving brands. Let's say they're in the same category.
Same category, men's grooming, but they're not direct competitors.
Yeah, but Manscaped, if anyone recalls, just a few months ago had a generative AI launch of a new character called Mr. Balzac. I don't know if anybody saw this character, but I don't think he was well received.
No, he was not.
Yeah, I wouldn't look him up, or even he's not going to be making a Super Bowl appearance, I'm sure, because it was not great. But he was AI generated. So if you're seeing Dollar Shave Club now with a variant, there could be a subtle dig there. These rivals are setting each other up. When the one rival goes into AI hard, the other sees an opening, equally opportunistic message to go anti-AI. So maybe it is which one wins out, but hard to see AI losing out, right? And Earl, is there any more to add?
I would say that it's going to be the push of we're going to have artisanal, we're going to be artistic, we're going to be human, we're not going to have anything AI generated. That's going to be the push for terms of advertising. Our stuff is made of real people versus assisted by AI bots. That's how you're going to differentiate yourself.
Which I also think runs the risk of being really hypocritical when it's like they're like, okay, we have like real people in our ads or something like that, and then more stories come out of like all the other ways their organizations are using AI, right? Like who isn't what like who can be an ad? It's like it's like being an electricity free company.
We use smoke
Yeah.
signals in our
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to hire the accountant who uses pencil and paper. And so I think that's what will come off like if, I don't think TurboTax will say, hey, we have abacuses and
Yeah.
we're better for that for some reason. I think that's what, if we had to guess on this one, it will be about sentiment. What is the kind of temperature on what the country thinks about AI? And I think it's mostly negative, which is coming probably more so from TikTok than anywhere else.
Yeah, but TikTok is not a reflection of the general audiences.
So yeah, Garrett, where are you seeing about where the winds are blowing these days?
I'm always torn until it's like settled, but like everyone said, this technology is going to be here. No matter what shakes out in the wash, in the future, we're going to be talking to an LLM to search the web or engaging an assistant to book us a hotel room in some capacity. Whichever company wins out, it will be the question. Go ahead.
Well, so let's go down to just a micro level for a bit, though, because I mean, I think it's fascinating for someone like yourself, in your role. Where do you use AI? What do you like using yourself, and where do you specifically not use AI?
I think media is a good example of, because we're going to always be the most careful of,
Well, some of you are.
The best reporters and editors will be very careful, and newsrooms will be very careful about how it's applied in images. Like the standards of everything in actual news gathering have to be impeccable, unimpeachable. So the serious ones of us, live by that. But that doesn't mean I was never going to be like, oh, I'm not going to, like Wikipedia. I don't use Wikipedia ever. So there's an example of tech that I wouldn't go there and like try to get information for background or context for a story. So there's still some ways you are keeping it pure, but you have to use this. It's like using Google. Like I'll go to, for instance, say who's going to give their earnings tomorrow? Google, or they're giving earnings this week. You could take their earnings report, put it through ChatGPT, take last quarters, put it through ChatGPT, and really do an analysis. Like that's where it's coming up. That's where you might be using it to run analysis and then fact check it.
It'd be very funny if comparing Gemini versus ChatGPT on Google's own earnings, and Gemini tries to massage that, and he hears like.
We could look, see how it positions it. Although with Google, there's never anything bad to say. We'll make another $100 billion tomorrow.
But they were supposed to make 100 trillion, and now it's only 99 trillion. Yeah,
disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, are there any things that you especially like playing with yourself?
I liked just for the Super Bowl looking at going back doing some research on Gemini. Hey, what was the mix of brands over the last 5 years in Super Bowl? And auto, travel, retail, tech, and give me a chart over the last 5 years, and it can spin up a chart that's relatively accurate. I mean, I could never. It didn't look that great. Gemini now, I'm only on the free tier of Gemini, so I don't know what the enterprise is getting, but they're promising multimodal, right? Where graphics, charts, images, all this stuff. So it could spin up these graphics, which is just a good way to condense information. Show me this in a chart, and I can read. Hence, like the chart we opened the podcast with, which was the chart for show me these agency platforms and what they are. Lay out the landscape for me so I can visualize what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Notebook LM, someone mentions here, is the one I hear all the time and I have to get into.
Yeah. I'm the proponent. I'm literally unofficial salesman for Notebook LM.
Well, you're gonna have to rival Daniel for the sales job there. So.
Wait, Danny, we're gonna fight on this one.
I mean, educating myself on various topics. It's gotten really good, Garrett. So Garrett, what are the other trends that you're excited about this year? Like, what are things that you think like you're going to be covering way more now that say you weren't a year ago?
What will pop up this year? I think obviously it's the ads on ChatGPT. We knew it was coming, but we were waiting for that announcement, and you saw the frenzy that set off, unleashing all the same debates that we just discussed. AI versus non-AI. Who needs AI? Do we need ads in AI? How bad will that make AI if ads influence the responses? So that sets off that debate. Also, ChatGPT, OpenAI just need money. It's like looking at Facebook or Google when they're startups and not generating revenue. How are you going to do it? They turn to ads. And in Google and Meta's cases, you're talking to $100 billion ad businesses, or Amazon turned on its ad business, now making 60, 75 billion a year in ads.
Yeah.
Can OpenAI do that?
It's a smart play, though. Like every startup started with a freemium model, and then they started with an ad-based, sponsored, lower tier, and then they paid subscription model for regular users and then enterprise users. It's pretty standard at this point. This is not surprising.
Absolutely, and it always interests me how they stumble on the right formula for what ads too. Like Google, they must be super valuable, those Google search ads, obviously.
Right.
But it's also, I mean, I was just reading what Netflix, like that had a decent year with their ad business last year, but it was like 3% of revenues. And so like if the Netflix ad business went away, some advertisers might miss it, but it's not like there goes Netflix, right?
Oh, but that was never their business model. Their business model was the subscription model, which is what they succeeded on. They only added the ad supporting tier to get people who couldn't afford the regular subscription model. It's pretty straightforward if you think about it.
I have a sense that probably people who are submitting to Netflix or getting a new subscription or renewing their old,
or
that's
share
a
it.
hell of a difference. That what
They
it
cracked on the
5
sharing.
a month versus 8 a month, like
Right. Yeah, I think they cracked down on sharing at the same time they released their ad-supported model. Coincidence? I think not.
and the ad experience is awful, Tamika says.
That is a fact, yes.
Which has to be regulated.
It's objectively true, yes.
Well, also in terms of Prime, although I actually don't mind it on my I got one of those Fire TVs and did my Cyber Monday shopping, and now it's like I'm getting bombarded with all the Prime ads, and then
So you're one of the 5?
And then in the other room I've got the telly, and which so I've got these CTV ads going on 24/7 here.
They're everywhere, out of home, on your mobile, on your TikTok, on your CTV.
Everywhere you're being messaged, no matter where you are, no matter where you look, where your eyeballs are, advertisers and brands are going to be there.
No, my biggest problem with any of these ads isn't so much the ad experience. It's that telly really thinks that I'm next in line to join ICE one of these days. So I seriously.
The targeting is all. That's just a targeting issue. That's just targeting.
Well, I think it's or lack thereof. It's like
fair enough.
So who else has? Let's just get some questions. We got a great bunch of people in the room here. Who's got questions for Garrett? What he's seeing, stuff he's covered. Who wants to question the questioner? Tamika.
Hey, Garrett, how are you? So I have a question that's along the lines of the privacy with ChatGPT and sort of the sentiment piece, partly because with chat, people are being way more intimate with their bots than they would. Like I have a friend who literally talks to it like it is a therapist, right? And so are there any implications from a privacy and a targeting standpoint that people share things with their chatbots that they probably wouldn't share with anyone else? And have you heard anyone kind of thinking or talking about kind of the privacy implications or what type of regulation might be thrust upon OpenAI from a targeting perspective?
Yeah, obviously they talk about that when they launch the ads. ChatGPT wants to get ahead of that very thing. Here's how you turn off personalization, but you're being a little cute with it because yeah, you could turn off personalization. First of all, you're still collecting all that data. Um, and they're saying the other part is we don't sell that data to advertisers, which I think is sort of the meta stance. Oh, we're not selling you the we're not selling you the data, we're selling you the audience that data is based on. So I don't think there's any way to decouple that you're targeting using this data. I personally, I wish privacy was more of a concern. It just never seems to be, and you can't use the internet without just giving your full credentials in ways that are able to be tracked across the web at all times. It's like almost just a Sisyphean thing. You can't beat it. And so that's why privacy is tricky, but certainly there will be some users concerned about it, obviously a lot. And in Europe, this is a much bigger deal. So that's where it will mostly play out, I'm sure. In Europe, they set the tone, and then hopefully some of those regulations get adopted in the US. And I share your sentiment too, because I won't say what relation to mine, but someone I know very close. Yeah, same thing. Talking to ChatGPT about their girlfriend, about the problems, about what do you do? What's my personality issue with this? And like what do you're getting advice from the ChatGPT about this stuff, but people are.
Well, and it is also, one of the things that was read in my Claudebot piece for tomorrow is it's actually great to see a lot of these privacy and security concerns come up, but it's also funny that the standards that we set for the companies that most of us trust, right? Apple, Apple and Google especially, right? Like the amount of info that Google has on us across email and our browsing history, our search history, our files, our documents that Google has, and people aren't too worried about that just showing up on the web somewhere, right? And so, but you see some of these new companies trying to like get access to all this from scratch, and it's like they have not earned that trust.
Maybe they're not worried because they haven't seen the consequence.
Well.
What is the consequence?
Yeah.
Sorry. What is the consequence? I challenge you, Karen.
What the consequence? I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for a job and then they take that data and use it against you, or you're running for office or whatever, I mean, there could be all kinds of consequences.
Yeah. So
people are more trusting. I don't think a lot of people give a lot of thought to that.
Yeah. Let's keep the questions come for Garett. Derek, you've been waiting.
Let me ask.
Well, let me go to Derek first, just because he's been waiting.
Well, questions. Anyone can answer. It's cool.
Yeah. Derek, why don't you go for it, and Karen will come back to you in a sec.
Okay.
Thanks, David. I just wanted to ask Garett or the others on the call, where are the larger agencies? What are the use cases for the LLM operating systems that they're building? Where are they putting the most effort and time? Is it against creative, media planning and buying? Where are they putting their efforts?
I'm seeing a lot of this AI personas, the targeting to build audiences based on data you collect. You go out in the field, you get human research, panel data, and then you feed the LLM. I think they're trying to customize the LLMs with this sort of bespoke data for each brand. They want each brand to have their own unique place to go and brainstorm these ideas, media strategies, creative ideas. You have to train the LLMs to know the brand's colors. If you're doing generative AI, it needs to know the colors, the fonts, the style. So I think across all these areas is where that I don't see one standing out over the other, except for the ones that maybe are easier to grasp first, which maybe AI personas are a lower lift than maybe some deeper training of AI for other purposes. But media buying, it's coming into play. Agentic AI is coming into play. All these things they're doing that I want to see the results of before I say it's done. But that's what they're doing.
And I mean, just when someone gives you an agentic AI pitch, like, are you seeing meat behind this? Do you even are you able to understand what they're saying?
I try to translate it in those stories, like when PubMatic comes to me and says, "Oh, we did the first agentic trading in programmatic," and you're like, "Okay, what does that mean?" At least they put a brand to it, and using Claude, the brand uses Claude, the agency uses Claude, defines a media strategy, sends it to PubMatic. So the idea is that they don't have to talk to the go into PubMatic's interface to execute this campaign. That's where it is. I still think it's a basic leap of efficiency. It's not like bots are just handling trillions of dollars of trading every day. So it's still just a incremental. But there is a lot of tension about what is truly agentic, what is just using an LLM to give you some help.
Hey, kind of on the same vein as the agency topic, you mentioned Horizon, and but then a lot of your I guess analysis or your views on the holdcos. I'm curious, like, if you have a thought on if independent agencies kind of have like a window of opportunity here, and now I say that knowing that the holdcos have acquired a lot of like data assets and things like that that give them, somewhat of a proprietary advantage. But like generally speaking, when it comes to things like creative or planning or things, or even some of the more nascent stuff like agentic buying and stuff like that, like, do you think that there is an window of opportunity for independent agencies to level the playing field, or is and I say that kind of knowing that a lot of the holdco power in the past has just been derived by scale and power of the network, and so, like, does that change, or does that stay the same in your mind?
No, I think you definitely have a challenger moment. If I do hear brand tech raised a lot as like sort of the model that some of these are going after, where you're just creating a holding co of different AI first services and agencies, and that's brand tech has emerged a lot. Stagwell is doing what it does. We mentioned Horizon. Vayner Media, I don't know if they've put AI into a product as like they're not trying to
They're building it.
AI,
I have people inside. They're building it.
and they're building it. Yeah, but they've they like to say we just have AI everywhere.
Yeah. The AI is 2 letters. Why not?
But yeah, they'll have something, of course. So this is just the general move that people are going, and it will open up opportunities and probably things we haven't even thought of in advertising services will emerge.
Thank you.
That's Justin. Earl?
I forgot what I was talking about.
All good.
Just want to confirm. I think that Garrett's right in terms of agencies are using them either knowingly or unknowingly without knowing that it was happening. And I think that clients don't know. So if you're going to build a comprehensive AI system, it's going to have to ingest all the different sensitive data from the different clients they work with. I don't think they understand AI.
That was a good point.
Point of view on that.
It's a very good point. And something we have to watch out because, yeah, brands want to know, and this is being written into the contracts, are use my data to train your AI.
Awesome. Thanks, Earl. Karen?
Yeah, I actually just asked Gemini and got the answer. So my question was if there is a difference between the API privacy and the general, like regular consumer privacy, and it seems like there is, right? So if I have my own app and I use the API to connect to the cloud, that data seems to be more private than what you do on the consumer platform. Do you know? Have you looked into that? Do you have any comments on this?
You're getting into you're stepping into technical territory. I'm going to start.
Technical and legal, actually. Technical and legal.
But yeah, I would be interested to know more what the differentiation is, and what do you mean by like who's using the API, where they would.
Well, for example, I have a product called Curator, and you can have your own API and create your own custom GPTs, and the data that is generated there, you can then choose in your API whether you want that public or you want that private. And I'm assuming a lot of these agencies also, they're using their own API so that their data will be proprietary and private to them.
Yeah,
versus,
for sure.
Yeah.
The APIs do mediate that. I know that much, but also it is technical for me. And then the other example you were sharing is which other way would it be just giving data fully up?
Well, if you have, like, I pay $20 for OpenAI or Gemini, and that conversation would then probably not be as secure.
No,
right?
it just knows that you're conversing with it and keeps track for sure.
But even if you have your own API, it still has a context memory, and I think you can use that or feed it back and use it for your activities.
Yeah, so it depends too. It depends on really how much you spend at the API level. The more you spend, the more custom access you get. ChatGPT for $20 a month, or now for $8 a month if you use ChatGPT Go. With Go, you can't opt out of training data collection with the $20 pro account, plus whatever plus account. You can opt out of it. Anthropic doesn't do it at all. Gemini makes it almost impossible to opt out. So that is one where anything you put into Gemini is going into the Google training machine. But I think all of the companies have been asked this question so many times that they're very secure. You know, if the CIA and the FBI and the three little government agencies are using Anthropic and Gemini and ChatGPT for government, most likely an advertising agency will have the security requirements. And all of them have sort of reporting. So there's a couple companies that do SOC compliance and all of that. And so you can get that trust report for any of the companies.
Let's hope.
Thanks, Daniel. We've got some more questions coming in. Let's go to Walt.
Hey there. Thanks for joining us, Garrett. This is a great discussion. So I'm old AF, so I've been around long enough to have started at full service agencies. The thing that I've seen that's been left behind as a tight integration between creative and media. I mean, first we had creative and media. We used to call data research before it became data. And then technology came in. So now you have four things you're juggling, and then they're all splintered into so many sub-disciplines. So I understand that the holding companies have to over-operationalize, and that means, so they don't fuck it up because they have 50 people touching every campaign start to finish. But are you seeing anything out there in terms of our new world of AI, in terms of where we might return to superpowers, really combining media, creative, data, and technology together in integrated discussions across the teams versus the silo effect we've seen happen over the past 25 plus years?
I feel it converges a bit now with creative AI being able to just go across all these and using media to inform your creative, and creatives informing media, and this is all like coming together. I think so. If I'm understanding I would imagine that's the way it's going.
Not really. If you ask the people that are on the individual teams if they work across the aisle, the truthful answer is not really, not to the extent they could. So,
and that's interesting, because when I do, obviously I talk to the people who are pushing this technology mostly. We have ears everywhere, so not saying we don't talk to the people inside using it too. But the people pushing the technology, you would say, oh, I can be a media buyer and get the research that a data researcher used to have to provide just by going into the AI platform. So they're talking about like the walls coming down. Of course, in reality, that could be something totally different. But the idea is, I'm a media buyer. I can make an ad now using these tools. whether that happens, and can you really make a good ad? I mean, David's talking about developing his own apps using Claude, so that's an example where he wasn't a developer, now he is.
Yeah.
All right.
So
But I haven't read any really deep articles on closer integration as a result of all this yet. I'm just wondering who the first holding company or large independent is going to be that really break out and kick everybody else's ass.
My reporter sense, what would you look for? Like, who would be the best source for something like that? Because I'll go get this story. That's why I do these talks. We'll go write that story. Who would you like to hear from on that?
Well, and yeah, there's also the bit that could be a whole other discussion here, and maybe too long for what we have now in terms of how much great ads matter versus like if you've got the data, if you're vibe targeting, if you're vibe creating and all this stuff, and it's just trying to match the right thing to the right person, like then who cares where it's running and if it's targeting who you say it is, and even if your brand messaging is perfect, like, you know, if it gets someone to click and then gets enough people to buy something, then, you know, are some of our standards too high, which is not something I necessarily want to espouse, but I think these are going to be conversations and debates we're going to have, you know, as we get more and more data and we have the potential to get more insights from that data. So we're talking about a lot of new territory here that we'll need to get into. Adam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, just very quickly, somewhat dovetailing on the previous thing about how all these teams are going to morph. You know, that article is great about highlighting what each holding company is doing. But I'm like, I feel like I'm getting some PTSD from back in the early days of like mobile and use of data and like custom graphs. It's formed by, as part of the early team at JumpTap, one of the mobile app platforms, and WPP Digital was an investor. So we worked with the early Xaxis team. Then we went over to Analect, and like, I thought they were the coolest things on paper because it was a center of excellence within the holding company. And then you go and you talk to the people at the center of excellence, and it turns out all the IOs, you know, all the dollars are held by all the different agencies out in the field, so to speak. So Garett, I guess, you know, like putting you on the spot, do you have a crystal ball as to like all these things that agency holding companies are talking about are ultimately they just going to be, we sort of alluded to it earlier, but like what happens to these things ultimately, in theory, everything that is AI kind of marries up with an employee, with a user, you know, digital experience and journey. Do all these centers of like AI, do these AI tools for the holding companies just kind of become like a very thin layer over whatever frontier model the agency's deploying in its stack? Like what I want the cynical take on what you're doing right now, which is not a knock against your article, but like, so what's going to happen in 18 to 60 months with these things?
My cynical take on it would be that they, you know, they can't take on Google or Meta in terms of what they're trying to do in some ways. And that these tools will become so widely used that you may not even need an agency to do some of this stuff. So that would be my most cynical take. But as far as their platforms, there's more digging to do. So I appreciate the question because there's more I'm writing about. Other platforms I want to dive into, more specifics about which sides of these platforms actually give results, or are brands actually using, are the creatives within the agencies actually using. So there's a lot more to...
And also any agency or account that is actually using it, how much are they actually having to prompt engineer like crazy to the point where like, why do they need
give up? That could be something too.
The holding co, when they could probably vibe code up a middle layer or a series of, you know, OpenAI or Claude Code skills to just...
Yeah, no, we'll see. And that's why this story was hopefully just the first. And I was happy that David gave
great start. That's awesome.
So Peter, one quick question.
Sure. I was wondering about the other side of the coin, about the client demand side of things. Of like, well, the agencies are investing heavily, at least the big holdcos. There was a section report last week on AI and marketing, and showing that on the client side, there's really low readiness. They're not doing much, and so is this just the expectation the agency is going to handle this, and does the brand actually want to pay for this to make up for what they're not doing themselves?
I think yes and no. They don't want to pay for it, of course, but they will, or maybe it cuts costs, and that's why they're pushing the adoption. Hey, save us money in some capacity. So, but some of this stuff does cost money. Like, I hate to lean back on AI personas. It's on my mind, but we're hearing from agencies like, oh, that should be table stakes and free. Brands want AI personas for free. You should just give that to us. Your market research using AI should be free. So that's one area. And the other area is, yes, I think brands are pushing adoption or forcing agencies to adopt because they want to see in the room, oh, we're so AI forward. We're doing it. It's a hype train, but they're also doing it. They're also more than willing to participate in the hype train.
Well, Garett, appreciate you walking us through what's hype, what's real, and all your ongoing coverage. And be fun having you back sometime and see how things are changing. You're welcome here anytime. This discussion, I mean, I think we hit a new record with the number of comments during the chat. And so Garett, if you missed anything, I can send you all that so you can see the whole lengthy sidebar that's been brewing. This has been a lot of fun. Appreciate everyone participating. We've got a lot of terrific events coming up. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everyone. Look forward to your comments in the Slack on the AI ads, and we will see you all very soon. Garett, thanks again. It's just terrific.
Thank you, David. Take care, everyone.